Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Suresh Chandra, having 10 years of experience in IT and working as a senior DevOps engineer. Today I have decided to launch a video series tutorial on one of the most popular platform to manage and orchestrate microservices or Docker containers using Openshift container platform. What the Openshift container platform is? So I will say the OpenShift container platform, formerly known as OpenShift Enterprise, it's a Red Hat own premises private platform as a service product built around a core of application containers powered by Docker with orchestration and management provided by Kubernetes on a foundation of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I will be covering the below topics in this video series with their description and demos. So first we will prepare the labs. So most important thing is the hands-on practicals. So you can set up the labs as per my direction, which I will demonstrate in this particular topic. Then I will introduce the OpenShift container platform to you. We will install the OpenShift cluster on multi-node environment. Then I will describe and explore the OpenShift cluster resources, what the resources are available inside the OpenShift container platforms like pods, services, and so on. Then describing and exploring OpenShift networking concept, how your container is going to connect with your services, how services is going to connect with your routes, and how the routes is going to be exposed to the outside of the cluster. Then executing commands on OpenShift cluster, how you can use the command to connect and interact with your application and deployments and so on. Then deploying and managing application on OpenShift cluster by using CLI or by using the dashboard. So both way are available to you. You can choose any one. Configuring automated builds using webhooks. So if you would like to integrate your GitHub, Bitbucket, or your GitLab CI tools to trigger the build automated whenever you do the changes in your code. So we can achieve that one with the help of webhooks, so you can configure that one as well. Then I will be demonstrating how you can scale up or down your applications on the OpenShift cluster on demand. So whenever you want to increase the number of replicas of your pod, you can increase that. Whenever you want to down or decrease, you can decrease that on demand. That will not be on automated way, because for the automated way we require the metrics to be enabled on the cluster, so that will come down. Understanding about the rolling deployments. So what the rolling deployments is, for example, you are already running one application in a pod and you are using, suppose your Nginx version is 1.7.9. Recently you have changed your Docker image inside your repository and you would like to upgrade your application on that particular image. So what the rolling deployments is in OpenShift by default is enabled. So unless if your new pod is not passing any of the health check or parameters which you have defined, till then your existing application pod will not be terminated. So how exactly is going to work in OpenShift, I will explain and demonstrate that thing as well. Then initially we will install and configure the OpenShift cluster on 4 nodes, and later on you can add more nodes as well. So for example, I have one master, one infra node where my one routers as well as the registry instance or the pod will be running, and 2 node will be for the application where my exact application will be running. So if you would like to add more app nodes where you are going to run your application later on in your existing cluster, how you will add and remove those nodes, so I will demonstrate that thing here as well. Then understanding the deployment strategy. So I will explain here two deployment strategy in OpenShift. One is the blue-green deployment and second is A/B testing. So we say is the A/B deployment. What the difference these two deployment strategy and how you can do this one on OpenShift. So I will be describing as well as the demonstrate both of the deployment strategy in OpenShift. Understanding and configure persistent storage. This is the very crucial task for the cluster admin. Like you know that already, whenever you are deploying the application in a pod, the pod by itself is ephemeral, means if whatever the data you have put it there, if due to any of the reason your pod has been crashed or something is happened with your pod, you cannot have your data back. So how you will configure the persistent storage, what the concept about the persistent storage, first you need to understand that one, and like the classes, how you can use your NFS, how you can use your iSCSI as well as the clusterFS as well as the CEPH storage for your stateful applications to provide a persistent storage. So I will be explaining completely the storage concept as well as the integration part with the iSCSI and clusterFS. Then if you are running your application in a pod and you are exposing the URL to the outside world, so that URL will be available by default on HTTP. So if you would like to secure the URL with the help of SSL and TLS certificate, so you have to understand the age termination concept in OpenShift roots. So how many type of these terminations and how you can use your own SSL and TLS certificate to encrypt the communication channel between your OpenShift cluster to the outside world. Then deploying application to OpenShift using Jenkins. So this is the most favorite tool of the DevOps people nowadays, how you can use the Jenkins to build and deploy the application on OpenShift. So there are two ways you can run the Jenkins inside the OpenShift as well. That will give you the high availability, because if your Jenkins pod died, we can provide the persistent storage for our Jenkins pod and that can be run on anywhere, so it will be highly available. But most of the companies, they have already their Jenkins running outside of the OpenShift cluster. So I will be explaining and demonstrating both of the way how you can use the Jenkins to build and deploy the application on OpenShift. Then deploying application to specific nodes. Yeah, this is the very important thing here. Like for example, you have your cluster which for the QA and dev, or I will say the dev and QA environment, or maybe you have the UAT environment as well on the particular cluster. So you have couple of nodes, so you can decide, okay, these are the 2 nodes or 4 nodes I'm going to use my QA, these are the 4 nodes I'm going to use my dev or SIT or whatever. So how you will make sure that your QA application will be running on those nodes or the specific nodes. So you can achieve that one with the help of node labeling. So we can do that one in OpenShift. So I will be explaining and demonstrating these things here. Then enabling the cluster metric subsystem. So I told you that if you would like to configure your applications to be auto scale on demand as per our resource consumptions like CPU and memory. If my memory is consumed like more than 2 GB last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or the processor has been consumed 80% last from 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that should scale your number of pods or something. So how you can do the auto scaling in OpenShift cluster, so that can be achieved with the help of metrics. So unless your metrics is not enabled in the OpenShift cluster, you cannot have the auto scaling. Then controlling access through RBAC, resource role-based access control, to the OpenShift resources. Maybe I am the cluster admin, and maybe some other person who just want to have the view permission on the overall cluster resources. So how you can provide the different privileges to the different users, so how you can control the access to the OpenShift resources for a particular user or a group. So I will be explaining and demonstrating those things here. Then adding master nodes, as I mentioned to you initially, I will have only one master. So if that master goes down, it means there is no control on the OpenShift cluster. So we recommend that you should have at least 3 master servers running to achieve the high availability of the OpenShift cluster. So if one is down, then OpenShift can serve the service to the cluster by using the rest of the master nodes. But I believe you are thinking why we require 3 nodes. We can achieve that one with the help of 2 masters. So I will explain and describe that thing in the session. But definitely we are going to add 3 masters to achieve the high availability in OpenShift cluster. The same concept we will have for the infra nodes. I believe you all already know about the infra nodes. So infra nodes are those nodes where our routers as well as the OpenShift container registry instance or the pods are running. So it is going to expose your application to the outside world. So if you have just a one node where your router is running and that node has been down, or your router has been crashed, or anything has happened with that particular router pod or node, it means your application access to the outside cluster has been stopped. So how you can run the routers as well as your registry pod in a high availability way as well. So yeah, but remember that if you are using multi nodes for the master as well as for the infra nodes, definitely you have to use the load balancer to distribute the traffic, because I will provide you one single URL and you have to hit that. If one of the node goes down, the URL will not change or should not change for the end customers. Still they will have the same URL, and that URL will be hit by the load balancer to the backend server. So how you will achieve the high availability in OpenShift cluster? This is the most interested concept here. So I have tried to added topics which is more relevant as with the OpenShift cluster. If something I missed here, or you would like to add your own topics, please comment on this video so that I can try to add those topics in this video series. So I hope you will like these topics during the session, and I believe these will be very helpful to most of you guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next session.